Esri. Bergson. Harper. Kurtz. Petrie. Schrader. Langenheim. Quorum is present.
All in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, let me make a comment here. I would like to move item 10X to between 7A and 7B, which will improve the flow of discussion. Any objections? Okay. Do I have an approval of the agenda amended? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public participation. What is that?
Gene Fisher. Gene
Gene?
Fisher.
Okay. Gene Fisher. Boy, that's a...
Sorry about that. I think Julie said I needed to revise my name there so people could read it. I'm Jean Fisher, 195 County Road, 1600 East in Villa Grove. Good evening. It's nice to address the ELUC Board again. The ELUC Board is familiar with the recent Jones RLA request. We were a portion of surrounding residents that addressed opposition. Now, we would like to address the purpose of protection and preservation of the Conservation District. This area comprises less than 1% of area within Champaign County. The Jones case demonstrated a clear need for definition and clarification of RLAs and separation from protected areas and households in the community. RLAs need to remain in ag zone areas due to the wide open spaces and smaller concentration of households in forested areas, which present risk of fatalities and damages. At this time, we would like to call for a moratorium of RLAs. Linda Shum, IDOT Division of Aeronautics Supervisor, has stated to me a need for greater separation and ordinances in Champaign County through recent emails and also in previous phone conversations exists. John Hall also supports a clarification and amendment of ordinances process. We feel this is critical, in part because the ZBA has no means of enforcement or ability to directly mitigate any problems occurring with the use of an RLA. Allowing for greater separation will help to preserve natural areas and the people that live within them. My preference would be that no CR areas would be allowed to have a zoning amendment for the specific use of RLAs. For the record, this idea is not a fear-based notion of anti-aircraft. Articles I'm providing to ELUC tonight and were given to the ZBA demonstrate how aircraft accidents happen to the most experienced of pilots and how the debris can be spread across large areas of land. If I can also make a recommendation for greater expansion in written notification of landowners surrounding a proposed RLA to be a 1 to 2 mile radius as a consideration, I think that would be helpful. Thank you for your time and continued efforts on the ELUC board.
Mark Fisher, 195 County Road, 1600 East in Villa Grove. Thank you guys for your time and listening to us. I think what most of the people here tonight are stating is with the broad number of different interests in Champaign County, we would like to see the leaders of our county be proactive in keeping ahead of incidences which happened in the Jones case where you have a conflict that took a tremendous amount of ZBA's time. And possibly if maybe there was some more guidance beforehand put in place, such a tremendous amount of the county's time wouldn't have been wasted. In my opinion, 80% of Champaign County, I believe, is zoned agriculture, which is deemed appropriate for RLAs. I just don't see a huge or a large demand of RLAs to where you need to step outside that area. Specifically for a conservation area, that's just a 1%. So I'm hoping that maybe you could do something that could be written into rules that would protect the very small areas such as conservation from being impeded upon for something like an RLA that is already deemed appropriate in a very large portion of the county, which is agriculture. So, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Julia Hall, and I live at 177 County Road, 1600 East in Champaign County. During recent hearings regarding a proposed RLA and rezoning, one piece of significant evidence was presented. The info that we presented actually was received from a flight instructor with a year's worth of time in the sky. A week ago, his plane failed on a takeoff from Paris, Illinois, hitting several trees, crashing, spewing debris for 300 feet and catching fire. Leaving a 2-year-old daughter and a pregnant wife, Rusty Bogue was killed. The National Traffic and Safety Board reported that there were 83 aviation accidents last month, that was July, with 22 deaths. The most occurred during landing and takeoff. The Bogue accident was tragic. But fortunately, since the accident happened in an area where there were no houses in the immediate vicinity, there were no other casualties. I'm here tonight to support a proposed additional amendments to Champaign County zoning ordinance regarding future approvals of restricted landing areas, private landing strips, heliports, and public use airports. Thank you.
Larry Hall, 177 County Road 1600E in Champaign County. My purpose tonight is to present our formal proposal, which you have in front of you, and which I'd like to read for the records. We, the undersigned residents of Champaign County, Illinois, hereby submit our request that the Champaign County Board and Committee members establish a temporary moratorium on the approval of any new requests for restricted landing areas in Champaign County to allow time necessary to consider and to adopt the attached listed proposed additional provisions and/or amendments to Champaign County zoning ordinance regarding future approvals of RLAs. These restrictions will help clarify land use compatibility, which falls under the responsibility of the County Board for the Preservation and Use of Land, and will provide enhanced protection for the citizens of Champaign County. These proposed additional provisions amendments to the zoning ordinance will reduce the subjective burden on board members to address concerns of neighboring property owners and residents. Also, they will provide a more appropriate and clearly defined greater separation between RLAs and neighboring property owners and residents, and will enhance the overall safety issues and concerns previously addressed in related county board and subcommittee hearings. I have discussed and reviewed these proposals with County Board Administrator John Hall, who agrees that minimum separation requirements between an RLA and neighboring homes under different ownership and between conservation recreation zone property would improve the existing zoning ordinance. In fact, if I can divert just a moment, in December 6th ZBA supplemental memorandum, Mr. Hall recommended and made a statement in discussing proximities of nearest dwellings that it may be a missing ordinance requirement for a minimum separation between an RLA and a dwelling under different ownership. Back to the proposal. Our proposal was excerpted in part from the RLA-related zoning ordinance of Kane County, Illinois, which has been in place since March of 1980. The proposed additional provisions and/or amendments to Champaign County zoning ordinance regarding future approvals of restricted landing areas, private landing strips, heliports, and public use airports. The provisions of this ordinance are in addition to the rules and regulations of the Illinois Department of Transportation, Division of Aeronautics, or IDOT, whose rules and regulations are the minimum standards for purposes of this ordinance. In the event of conflict between the provisions of this ordinance and the rules and regulations of IDOT, the more restrictive of the two shall prevail. Restrictions on location. No public use airport, restricted landing area, private landing strip, heliport, or any other facility designated as a restricted landing area of any kind in the rules and regulations of IDOT or of any part thereof shall be located within 2,000 feet of any residential dwelling not related to the activities of the RLA, within 300 feet of any property line when the adjacent property owners have no relationship to the activities of the RLA, within 1,000 feet of any conservation CR zoned district, nor in a location which is inconsistent with the plans, policies, and ordinances of Champaign County, which are now and may from time to time be in effect. Distance between restricted landing areas. The minimum distance between restricted landing areas shall not be less than 3 miles measured from the nearest points of the landing strips, and when approach planes are located in one extended straight line, the distance shall be not less than 4 miles. Distance from highway or railway right-of-ways. Runways shall not be located within 1,000 feet of any highway, street, or railroad right-of-way if the runway is perpendicular to such right-of-way, and shall not be located within 500 feet if parallel. Conservation, recreation, or CR zone property. To protect and preserve the established designation of CR, no CR zone property shall be rezoned out of CR. Thank you, and we ask you add this request to your agenda at the earliest available time.
I am Paul Cole. I'm the attorney for the Warners, who are the petitioners in case 747 AM 13. I wasn't aware that I'd be speaking ahead of the time that case was called, but I'm happy to speak. I am here to offer whatever information the committee may require or desire with regard to that case, which is simply a zoning map amendment to change an Ag 1 piece of ground to B1. I will say that in support of that application, the B1 business conducted there, in fact, as if it had already been a B1 zoning district, has been there for 39 years. Mr. Hall and I have been back and forth a number of times on the fact that if we had been able to make the magic 40 years, we wouldn't have to go through any of this. But in fact, for nearly 40 years, a farm equipment business has existed there. And in connection with another application, which was for a special use permit allowing the Warners to potentially allow the new liquid fertilizer storage tank on adjacent property to be used for public storage in addition to their own, in connection with that special use permit application, Mr. Hall correctly, I think, usefully suggested that we might as well clean up the fact that the adjacent property, which is essentially part of the same operation, even though it's an equipment dealership, should more appropriately be zoned B1 than Ag 1. And we've done that. We followed staff's advice. We filed an application for change of the zoning district from Ag 1 to B1, and I think I'm here only to assure the commission, our committee, that no use changes here. There has never been any other use really besides what's been there for the past 38 years. It's all agricultural. There are no drainage problems. There are no sanitary problems. There have been no complaints from anybody about the actual uses there. In fact, the nearest neighbor happens to be a relative of the Warners, and he bought the house which is adjacent to this property, about 10 years ago or so, with full knowledge of all the business uses that were going on there and had always been conducted there by his family. I'm happy to provide any other information that the committee may seek, but I'll just be making myself available for that purpose. Yes, I'll stay. I'll stay just in case.
Okay. Are we done with public participation? Does anybody else want to talk? Okay. Are there any communications? Okay. Item 7A, Recreation and Entertainment License, Car X Crazy K, Champaign County Fairgrounds, 1302 North Kohler, Urbana, September 21st, 2013.
Move approval. Second.
Any discussion? Yes.
Just to say that they're obviously making a go of this, because this isn't the first time around. Must be doing good, and it's probably a good thing for the community all in all.
Any further comments?
It's my son's friend. Does that mean I need to abstain?
Okay. We ready for a vote on this? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we're now moving to agenda item 10, which is invitation to ELUC members to attend the Citizens Planning Workshop on October 10th, 2013. Okay, there she is. What?
It's got red lights. Okay, it's sort of counterintuitive. Okay, hi. We propose to, are we at the information item? I understand, okay. It's the invitation. You as ELUC members, Environment and Land Use Committee members, serve essentially as plan commissioners for the county. So it's been 2 years since we've had the opportunity to offer a citizen planner workshop, and one is coming up this October. So we cordially invite members of the ELUC committee to, of ELUC to this workshop. There would be a dinner, which you would not need to pay for, in between 2 sessions. And I'd be willing to answer questions. I have a more developed program of this event. If you'd like to see that at some time soon, I can distribute that to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? All right. Item 7B, rescheduling of the October 10th, 2013 ELUC committee meeting to October 3rd, 2013 to allow ELUC members to attend the Citizens Planning Workshop. Details under item 10, which we just had. This is for information only.
Well, isn't this the vote? This is the vote where you decide to,
Vote.
We have to take a vote on this?
right, this is
Okay.
the request to move the meeting one
Okay. we
One
got-
week sooner.
We got a motion?
Okay.
Okay, any comment? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, passed.
Thank you.
All right. Item 8A, case 747 AM 13. Recommendation to approve a zoning map amendment for Warner Farm Equipment Incorporated, change from Ag 1 to B1 Rural Trade Center to bring an existing farm equipment business into compliance. Can I have a motion? Second? Okay, we got a second. Any comments? Yes, ma'am.
I information questions, please. I realize this,
Move to suspend. Second.
oh, sorry, thank you. Okay, thanks. I realize this has gone on for almost 40 years, and the people who own the property on the other side are relatives. That's today. But that's not going to be necessarily the case in 20 and 30 years. And there's an easement issue connected with this because they have to cross one land to get to the tank. Do I understand this correctly?
There is no easement with regard to the adjacent property owner. The person that I've referred to as a family member, no, there is no easement there. The tank is on Ag 1 ground. The ground that we're dealing with tonight is immediately adjacent, and the two entities that own the Ag 1 property and the proposed B1 property are closely related. I think one is called, I won't remember the names, I'm sorry, but they're two corporations owned by the same people, the Warners. And so frequently it will be the case that trucks going to the tank to supply it or to withdraw liquid fertilizer may cross the B1 property. And it's because they may cross the B1 property, I believe, is one of the reasons Mr. Hall suggested that it ought to be officially a B1 property, because that would be something of a commercial use of that proposed B1 property, and so it might as well be acknowledged to be there potentially for that purpose. That's one of the reasons why I think staff have asked this to be a B1 property map change. But there are no specific easements involved here at all related to access.
So what's going to happen when one of those properties gets sold to a non-family member? Is there going to be easement issues then?
Well, it's extremely unlikely that Werner would sell away his own access to his tank. If he did, then I would imagine that he would already have made whatever application is necessary through the ZBA and to further permit access in what is going to remain Ag 1 property where the tank is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion?
Ralph. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment or two that kind of backs up what you said, Mr. Cole, and that is I've known that property up there has been used for farm equipment sales for years and repair, parts and service up there. One form or another here recently, Kinsey Corporation's equipment's been up there and they've sold a lot of equipment up there. And the point I want to make is with the farm equipment getting larger and larger, because I think mostly the Kinsey lines of equipment is planters and auger carts, and we're getting bigger and bigger equipment. This is more suitable out in the countryside, out in the rural areas, than would be anything juxtaposed to a municipality where there's more traffic, faster traffic. This is an area where it's a slower traffic, and I just think this is very appropriate to put a B1 out there for ag sales. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, case 757 AT 13. Amend the ordinance as follows. Part A, adopt updated flood insurance study effective 10/2/13. Part B, adopt updated digital flood insurance rate maps DFIRM for Champaign County effective 10/2/13. See the new maps and www blah. Part C, adopt a new special flood hazard areas ordinance based on minimum requirements of the National Flood Insurance Program and State of Illinois. Do I have a motion? So moved. Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. No. Okay. We have an item to receive and place on file to allow for a 30-day review period. It's preliminary recommendation from Zoning Board of Appeals for zoning ordinance amendment, case 761 AT 13. Amend zoning ordinance by amendment to Champaign County Evaluation Site Assessment LISA system in section 3, section 5.3, footnote 13, and subsection 4.
I move that we receive and place on file.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, do we have any monthly reports?
It's in the agenda.
Move to receive and place on file.
Okay. Any second on that?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Just looking through the report, monthly report, John, and let me get my pages here. I was looking through the totals, and it looks like we're pretty much on par except for completed cases. From last year, we're about 15 behind on completed cases. And pending cases, we're kind of the opposite. We're 19 behind, now we're only 9. Oh, on page 57, I'm sorry.
Right, yeah. We're actually 15 ahead of where we were last year.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And it,
Completed, I'm sorry, I read that backwards. I was reading them backwards. You're
and
right.
it feels like
You're
that
right.
at the staff level.
Well, congratulations, that's good work. But, yeah, that's great. I read that wrong, I apologize, so. But, looks like the caseloads are staying up. We're receiving pretty much the same amount of requests that we had been.
You know, John, they've dropped off in
August.
July and August. And we got one in August, and I think we're going to get at least one more in September. So I think for some reason, we had an abnormal amount of cases in the first portion of the year. And it kept us very busy. If in fact this lull stays in place, then our planner will be able to assist in things like enforcement. So either way, this is going to work out good for the county. Either we're going to have a lot of cases the whole year, or we're going to have just a lot in the first half, and then we can shift that resource to enforcement in the latter half.
Okay, appreciate it. You answered my second question then, thank you. All right.
That it? Yes, sir. Any further comments? Well, I think that does it. Is there any other business? Yes, ma'am.
What?
Do we need to vote
On
Accepting them.
file? Need to vote on these to
Yeah.
be on file.
Need to vote on accepting
On
them.
number 11. the
Accepting
monthly.
them.
You'd like to have that, do we have a motion to
We
put
do
that on
that.
file?
You do.
Second?
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Good. All right, now. Other business?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
I would like to request the ELOC chair to add to the agenda for October this question of a temporary moratorium on the RLA. And I have two information requests to go along with this document that we were provided. One is, if possible, a map of, King County, when I had King County, which they used as the model. And the second is if there's any data since 1980 as to the functionality of the King County ordinance from the protective aspect.
Okay, do we have a motion to put that on the agenda?
No, that's not a motion, it's just a request that this
Well,
be an
this is-
agenda.
Okay,
item.
all right, no problem. Consider it done.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, chair's report. The chair doesn't have anything to report, except that he's dead tired.
Well, Ralph, you're going to have to stop partying at night.
Stop, what?
Partying tonight.
Okay, semi-annual review of closed session minutes.
The David DeThorne, the state's attorney's office, reviewed.
Is your,
It's
is it
on.
on?
Can you hear me?
No, not very
No.
well.
Okay. David DeThorne from the state's attorney's office has reviewed the closed session committee minutes and determined that there was no change from his review done in March. So the current closed session minutes for the ELUC committee will stay closed.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think we need any action on that. Items to go on the consent agenda, well, we consented to everything. That's 7A, 7B, 8A.
No, that's all, just 7A and B.
What?
Just 7A and B. Right?
Okay. 9, we approved that. Okay.
Or, I'm sorry, 8A and B.
8A, yeah, I thought so.
Sorry.
Could we have a motion to adjourn?
B, and C.
Please.
You got it?
So moved?
So moved.
Is this-
Second.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none,
Part C is part
let's go, kids.
It's B.
Oh, sorry.